DTS.
Yes, and we just want to take a few moments to just recognize and acknowledge the family members and friends that have come to celebrate with us with the graduation. Can you guys raise your hand if you guys traveled here or from local? Yeah, we got some people here. Any more families? Let's give them a round of applause for coming. Thank you guys so much for entrusting your kids to us for 5 months, not just in Kansas City, but in the Philippines as well. We just had a baby like 10 months ago, and I'm like, if I don't see him for 30 minutes, I'm like, is he okay? Where is he? Like, what's going on? So I can't imagine you're sending off your kids for 5 months. So thank you guys so much. I truly believe your obedience and your releasing has allowed for them to encounter God in the way that they have and to impact the people that they have in the Philippines. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, guys. Yeah. Unji and I are the school leaders for this January 2023 DTS. Thank you, guys. Yes. We just want to give you a little bit of insight about the school and why we chose to kind of school lead. To be quite frank, initially we had doubts leading the school. Not about the people or the staff or anything, but I think doubts because the phase of life that we were really in. We recently just had a child when the school started. He was around 6 months old. And we just had doubts of like, hey, can we actually do this with a new rhythm, with not really sleeping well, still not sleeping well. And then we just had reservations of like, hey, can we actually do this well? So me and Angie, we had doubts, multiple doubts about it, just talking through it. The core reason of why we did it and why we love to do it is that DTS, but particularly people who meet God for the first time, is really life-changing. I know a lot of us, we know that God loves us, but in DTS, I feel like we figure out, hey, God actually likes us. More than he doesn't have to love us, but he actually likes us, and he likes us being with him, right? And then for us, I think the big part of it is like, wow, when someone realizes that for the first time, and that you get to be part of that story, it really kind of changes a whole person's being. And then they actually light up, and they actually start to become alive. Not that they were dead or they were like not doing great, but it's like, wow, I'm actually finding out who I really am. And for us, that's the biggest joy in our heart to really see that happen for our students. And I can earnestly say that all of our students, that's part of their story. With that, I also want to introduce our staff for the DTS as well. The main reason I want to introduce them is that they actually had the same heart. And they actually had the same reason why they're doing DTS, realizing that, hey, if God really not just loves us because he has to, but he really likes us. It really changes who we are, what we're called to do, and what we're made to be. So this is some of the staff that we would want to introduce from the school. And then can we have our staff stand up for the DTS, please? And then from the photos from left to right, that's Zach Reinhardt. This is Hannah Sellers. That's me and my wife. That's Bethany Lang, and that's Jojo or Josue Leck. And they really had a heart to really actually help people really understand who they're made to be. But more than figuring that part out, but actually walking with them to actually become who they made to be. So we're really fortunate to have our staff team. Babe, can you just share maybe one thing that surprised you about the school?
Yes, so surprising. I don't think I ever shared this with you guys, but especially after being in the Philippines, we got to visit them in the Philippines for about a week, a little over a week. But just their tenacity, just the way they are such fighters. They fought for everything, not like against each other for the most part, but they fought for family. They fought for the presence of God. They fought to stay humble. They fought through sicknesses and difficulties and so many things. But I was just so surprised by how you guys just didn't ever give up. You guys fought for each other's breakthrough, fought to call each other higher. And so I was really inspired and just really moved by that. And yeah, I've never really seen a school that fought as hard as you guys. Sorry for if previous schools that I ran are here. But yeah, and I think the more surprising thing is they went to this place called Mindoro, and they'll probably share more about it. But I've heard stories that it wasn't the easiest place to go to, but they loved it. And this just shows that, man, that these guys are ones that will go to the hardest, darkest places and then come back even more alive, more in love with Jesus, more in love with the lost, more in love with the Philippines. And so I'm just really proud of you guys, and I can't wait to hear more of what you guys are going to share tonight.
I'm just going to share one thing that surprised me about the school. One thing that really surprised me about the school is how well they loved our family. Our son is out there somewhere, probably crawling on the cement. But they really were great and caring, but I really loved our son well. I knew they would be amazing people. I know they're going after God, but that really surprised me, and that really opened up my heart to get to know them more. The reason I share that with you guys is I wish you guys had an opportunity to get to know them as well as we did, and for walking with them and hearing all their stories about God and what they're doing in their lives or their families for the last 5 months. And we really want to share that with you the best we can. So we made this little video of a glimpse of some of our students and their journey, and that way you guys can get to know them a little bit better as well. So I hope you guys enjoy that and really enjoy getting to know our students.
I did not know what to expect. I was like, there's gonna be a bunch of people who just got out of high school, and like I know we're going like on an outreach, but don't know what these classes are, don't know like if I'll even like everyone.
I didn't really know much about YWAM at all. I didn't really research anything about YWAM at all. I just thought I would just like go and just do like good works and like maybe like, you know, learn some Bible verses or something.
I honestly thought that not very much was going to change in my life. I thought I was going to get through this 6 months, go home and be like, yeah, I did YWAM, whatever.
We didn't research it much. We didn't know, you know, very much at all. Like I don't know what we're doing here, what to expect, or you know, what to think about it, because we kind of crash landed in.
I mean, having, you know, one of my fellow students last time being my leader was a little unique. So
I knew that it was 3 months lecture phase, 2 months outreach, and that was it. Even though I didn't have any expectations, he completely like blew them away. What happened was definitely not what I expected.
I did expect to grow in my relationship with God. I didn't expect to grow so much and like being able to share like the gospel or share my testimony.
I came into DTS, I was like, anywhere is gonna be better than rehab. I just want a good community, people that are gonna help me grow, and I got exactly that.
My expectations, just knowing that God is gonna move in my life in more ways than I could even expect or imagine, and that's exactly what happened.
Before DTS lecture phase, I had a lot of fear of man. I just was so afraid of what like everyone thought of me.
I was living in a lot of fear. I would do everything I could to please people and never rock the boat.
I was a very fearful person, very, very afraid of like everything, talking in front of people, even having like conversations with people was really hard for me.
I was struggling a lot with just like depression, and I was not doing good before DTS.
Like before coming to YWAM, I didn't really know how much fear I was struggling with, and like that was a big part of my life.
There's just so many like things that I didn't even realize were affecting my life. Everything about my life has changed since before Christ.
I used to be a rebel, doing a lot of things I shouldn't have done. Stole a car, I ran away a couple times, had a lot of behavioral problems, and I hurt a lot of people around me. When I gave my life to the Lord, I could see such a dramatic shift and change in myself that I was like, whatever this is, I know this is real. And so I wanted more of it, and so I was like, what better way than to do a DTS?
I knew like my identity in Christ, but I didn't know like what it would truly say to be rooted in the Word. I usually would think I wasn't beautiful, I wasn't smart, I wasn't worthy. That actually goes against what God says about me, and how I'm learning to take that thought captive and obey it to God by replacing it with, okay, but this is what God says. Like the world tells me this, but this is what God says.
I know I felt like a lot of rejection in my past, but then coming here and feeling like people cared about like your heart and actually investing in each other, that was a huge surprise and like really good for me in this season especially.
I've gotten to see him as a lot more of a comforter than I did before. The level of care and just love that he has for me, and tenderness and kindness that he has.
You know, the leadership pushed us. They wouldn't take no for an answer. I've often been a person that resists being told or pushed to do something. I found myself maybe being surprised at just responding well to that urging. I appreciated and was a little bit surprised by just some insistence.
Some preachers make you feel like you're less and lower than them, but they're like, man, I used to struggle with this too. My leaders, Nick and Angie, have done a fantastic job. Just like putting it down to earth, you know?
In the area of intercession, in the area of knowing God's heart for the nations, in the area of knowing how he loves us, you know, and that applies to the nations, but that applies to us, that applies to me.
Learning to hear from the Lord and believing that he does speak to us. Being around a culture of people that fervently believes that the Lord speaks in an ongoing way.
I didn't know like what God had for me before coming here, and now I'm like so excited. I want to know God, I want to make him known, and I want to have that intimate relationship with him.
He does everything he says he's going to do. I mean, even from the breakthrough and opening the doors for us. I knew those things about him before, you know, but just kind of going through the experiences of them is just learning it in a more experiential way.
Recently, the past 6 months, I learned that I can actually hear from God, so that was pretty crazy. I didn't think that I could actually talk to him, but that makes so much more sense considering he's a relational God.
I can talk to him when I'm on a walk. I can talk to him when I'm going to sleep. Like just seeing him as a really good friend and a good father.
My relationship with God is different from before DTS and after DTS. Now I know that, you know, like the creator of this entire universe loves me.
I just feel really close to God, especially during this season, and I trust him with all my future plans and everything.
Just seeing like what a true father looks like, and there's no way that any like person can do that. I got to have conversations with God and like actually hear his heart for me.
He has been so patient with me, and he has given me the space and time to really process things. Like I've grown way more intimate with him, and just like I know him. Now I feel like I know him even more, and I have such a great desire to grow in this relationship with him. The fact that he's been so gentle with me has made me like I want to honor him in that, and I want to walk in what he has for me, because yeah, like he's just so gentle.
YWAM has 18 values. The first one is to know God. It's the foundation of who we are and what we do. And the reason I'm sharing that with you guys, because I think it really does impact and change our lives, really knowing him. So with that, I want to invite one of our students, Ellis. Can you give a round of applause for Ellis? Come on up. And then Ellis is going to share how knowing God has actually changed his life.
Yeah, I'm going to do just that. If you guys didn't know already, my name is Ellis. I'm from North Carolina, 17 years of age. Life was pretty tough before I went to DTS. I was in a mental hospital for a bit, jail for 15 days, and rehab for 8 months. And I was like, man, life sucks, bro. I was like, dang, this is tough, right? But I eventually gave my life to the Lord in rehab, and that was really the shift of everything in my life. So I eventually wanted to learn more about God, but didn't exactly know how, considering I was in a rehabilitation camp, right? So they pointed me to God, but I didn't really learn much about God being there. And so I was talking to my case managers and just these people in my life who were helping me get through this rough, sticky part of life. And they're like, man, you should do a DTS. And I was like, man, I have no idea what that even is. But sure, man. I was like, anywhere but home is good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I ran away a couple times. But home wasn't good. But now it is, because God has redeemed that. But yeah, DTS has just been a major just stepping stone in my life, like just leading to the next part. Like I said, I've learned a lot in this place. It's been very good. God has redeemed relationships in my life. He's helped me to step out. I used to be a very isolated person. Like, doing this would have sucked. I mean, it still does, but like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not the type of guy to talk in front of a crowd, but it's cool that God gives me the strength to do that. So he's just continuously moving. He's teaching me a ton of stuff. And yeah, if you haven't done a DTS, do it, man. Yeah, all right. I'm short-winded. That's it.
Thanks, Ellis. Ellis is one of our amazing students. His life really got changed and transformed. I could personally say, for me, it was a really joy to see him really come alive. So it was amazing. With that, the second part of DTS, we have like an outreach that we really do. We really believe in knowing about God, but then actually doing it to practice. So I just want to invite some of our outreach leaders onto the stage, and they're going to explain, hey, what we did on outreach. So can we give a warm welcome to Jojo, Zach, and Hannah. And they're going to share what we did in the Philippines.
Hello. All right, let me pull up my notes. So the first part of the Philippines, we went to the Philippines, if you didn't know that. All right, so the first couple of weeks, we partnered with YWAM Philippines Impact Center, and we stayed on the main island or the main part of the island called Luzon. A lot of people know it more as the big city nearby to Manila. But for the first 5 weeks, we partnered with a lot of the ministries at the base, or a lot of the missionaries at the base. We worshiped together. We went out on ministry together. It was really cool. A lot of people there also were our translators, and so we actually got to know and like pour into the missionaries at the YWAMPH base as much and like equally as we were pouring out in the community. And so one school we went to was in Tagalog, and we did a teacher's love feast, and that was our first outreach, which was amazing to go love on teachers and like say, like, even as they're opening up and like loving on their students, that you have a plan and a purpose, and to like even invite them into the greater storyline of the Bible. We partnered with YWAM Kona at that school as well. And it was awesome to live together with, there was a Kona team or DTS running at the same time that we got to live and dorm in this, like, room in the same buildings with and connect on the base. And then we went back to that school 2 other times, one time to do a leadership conference and one time to do a classroom to classroom ministry. And we actually got to go from the classroom to each classroom and like share testimonies and invite people. Like, the school was open. We could share whatever we wanted to about the gospel and about Jesus, invite them to be a part of, to give their lives to the Lord. And then we partnered with 2 other churches in that time, and they were both in this general area called Novetta. And so we partnered with the Victory Church and the Lord of Hope. And in that time, we walked the neighborhoods with them. Like, we went house to house, and we asked, like, do you want to know more about God? We got to pray for people. We saw some healings there. Yeah, and then we also went classroom to classroom. We went to some other high schools in that general area or junior highs. And, yeah, then we also did some jail ministry. That was a good part of the first month we were there.
Yeah. Good job, Hannah. That first month was pretty fun, being able to partner with with the YWAM base. But then the second month, it was like literally the first day of our second month, we went to this island called Mindoro. You've heard of it a couple times now. And we also went to Sogike. I probably butchered that island. I would start with that island first. That one is a smaller island. We took about a 15-minute boat ride there. And it was, in both Mindoro and that other island, it was all tribal ministries. So that island had a tribe that we went to. We brought about 10 Bibles to, full Bibles in their language. And we brought that to them. We did open air outreach, which is basically just like a couple dances. We shared a couple testimonies, the gospel, and a skit as well, and then we really just ministered to them. And we also were able to do food, I forget what that's called, feeding ministry to them. So we did that on all the tribes, but specifically that island. You're going to have to ask some of our students. We had some adventures on that island. But then Mindoro as a whole, we went to all the tribes but 4. I think it was like 13 tribes? About 13 tribes. And we gave out 117 Bibles in total in Mindoro. And every single tribe that we gave Bibles to, I saw at least one person cry because they've always been like, man, we've been looking for the Word of God. And now we actually have it. Even if it's 10 Bibles per tribe, at least they have the Word of God. Then we also were able to bless some of these tribes with some ministry gifts. And we were very particular about whenever we would give them something, it wasn't, oh, this team would give you a gift. Like, we actually wanted to connect the local churches that we were working with to that tribe. So we always made sure that whenever we gave a gift, like we gave parts for a well, and actually that well is just being dug and constructed right now for this church we were helping at. And we gave solar panels and lights to a tribe. And it was all in the name of YWAM and the churches connecting to those tribes. It wasn't to us. So that's kind of the little bit I wanted to share with you guys is our living conditions were full ministry, whatever you think about in outreach, where it was concrete floors. It was like 100 degrees in there, no electricity for the first week. The water was a half-mile walk to the pump. It dried up 2 days in, so we were out of water for 4 or 5 days, half a mile back. And that's really where we grew. I think our students can attest as a team where we were in it together. And I have to give credit to my team. I got to encourage them. I nagged on them quite a bit. Encourage them. They didn't complain. They were like, I'm all in. It's like, if this is what tribes live like, we should live like that too, to really go to these tribes. So you guys did a great job. I'm so proud of you. I told you that before. I'm going to say it again in front of everybody as witnesses. These guys are true missionaries. They really know the heart of the Lord, and they go for it. So that's what I got.
I was supposed to share about something unique. I don't know really what that means, but I'm just kidding. I think the coolest and most unique part about our DTS, specifically in like the outreach portion, was that how like relational our team was, and kind of like how much we like were really just like for the Lord, because we were even recognized by like the Philippines team and like the Philippines base, and just like even other coordinators for other teams, because we were actually working alongside 4 other teams, a Kona team, that is fire and fragrance, but Kona team, circuit riders, a Brazil team, and an all-girls team. Oh yeah, Awaken, yeah. But it was super cool because all of these people, or all their coordinators, were, when we went to our place in Mindoro, all of our coordinators or their coordinators were like, yeah, we want Kansas City to go there because, like, no offense to our team, but they can't handle that. And so we was like, oh yeah, Kansas City. No, it sounds crazy, but it's for real. It's for real. It's for real. And then, yeah, it was, I don't know. I don't really know what else to say except like how amazing that like how closely knit all of us are together. Like I know the ins and out of Nate, not only because I did his DTS with him 2 years ago or 3 years ago, but because I got to redo a DTS with him now and be his staff. And then, oh man, I love this stuff so much. What else? That's it right there. That was it. We love Jesus.
There's so many stories from our outreach that we would love to share with you guys. If we were to share all of them, it would probably take a few hours. But we just want to give you guys a peek to some of our students' experience as they're doing missions work in the Philippines.
Oh boy.
It feels like a blur. It's just like, woo.
Oh, wow.
I do not remember anything.
The first week we were at a school. That's when we went to the big school. Yeah.
And we did the foot washing, and then we went to the Victory Church and did the youth group, and then we did their service.
All right, everyone ready? Yeah. January 2023 DTS coming at ya.
We're just coming back from the Philippines from a 2-month missions trip.
Getting on a plane, leaving, and it was 32 degrees here. Land in the Philippines and it's like 80 degrees and it's humid.
The base that we stayed at, like, it's so beautiful there. Like, everything is so green and they have all the flowers. And we just came from here where it was mostly like gray and a little bit sad. And then just coming there and yeah, have the sun and it was so beautiful.
We show up on the Philippines Impact Base and meet a lot of really awesome people. Everyone's calling each other bro and sis and just like walking around the base. There's just people everywhere. They're just always smiling and saying hi.
We were greeted and like we were treated like we were family from the moment that we got there.
The people from the YWAM Impact Base were really fun to like build relationships with. And on the last week we got to go to like the base leader's house. And we heard our coordinator, Jeffrey, talk about how before us, he was like terrified to talk to any foreigners. And if like you meet Jeffrey, he talks nonstop and he's super hilarious and sarcastic and stuff. So for the base leader to even hear him talk to us and like see how much of a relationship we had built, he just realized like how much we had really been pouring into them and how much they'd blessed us.
The first week we did a lot of church ministry. And we did like some house-to-house stuff with that church. If you knock on doors in America, you're not gonna be just welcomed in. They're gonna think that you're a solicitor.
You walk up to strangers' doors and knock on them and say, hi, can I tell you about Jesus? And they'll welcome you in.
They give you everything that they have. You walk in their door and they're like, oh, here's drinks. Or here, we're gonna turn our fans towards you. We're gonna serve you in every way we can, even though you're coming into our space.
The pastor and pastora that hosted us at the first church, they were so friendly and welcoming to us, and they did everything for us. Like pastora even washed or rinsed our clothes, and they truly showed us like what a servant leader and servant heart looks like in serving with joy and love and truly serving God with everything they have.
I met this kid the first day of ministry. Yeah, ministry. I was at this big school in Manila, like 7,000 kids there.
Guy was like a total gangster. Literally. He'd like been in, he's in a gang, and he's young, 15.
Yeah, he's young.
And he has a tattoo on his arm.
It's like a Japanese traditional tattoo of the devil.
Yeah. And it was so cool though how hungry this guy was for Jesus, but also like just a relationship with Ellis.
He's the first guy that walked up to me, because like, you know, the culture is very shy, so all of them just like hid away, and there was this one dude, Sean, it just came up to me. And then we instantly just hit it off, and still reminds me of like a younger me. So it's just nice to be able to pour into him.
Alice went back and got him a Bible, and he took it home to his family and they read it.
Since we spent a lot of time with a church called Victory Church, and we had like some significant people there that were with us for like, I don't know, 3 weeks or how long we stayed with them. And one of those people for me was the leader of the youth group in that church, and her name was Joy. Just awesome seeing how much that youth group as well was a part of like the ministry. Like it wasn't just the older people in that church, but especially like the youth group were a part of doing house-to-house ministry.
It's so cool to see like how much they care about families. And so like even bringing those youth into every single ministry opportunity, like they want to teach the youth. And so we got to be a part of a lot of that, like getting to equip them because of some of the stuff that we learned. We got to use that in equipping some of the youth there. And so it was like these families that we would do little things with, and just the youth, and it was so fun.
That was fun.
It looked like a lot of sleeping on the concrete.
Showering with buckets.
Yeah, mosquitoes. If even.
Mosquitoes.
Rat dogs.
Rat dogs.
Just, yeah, a whole different planet.
It was a very humbling experience living in living conditions that like everyone like in third world countries lives in, and you just get such a heart of thankfulness. It was crazy. Like I've never had that worldview before. All the stuff we have in America like is so much that we lose focus.
My main takeaway from outreach is all the relationships that we got to build with people. Like I'm never gonna forget those relationships that we got to build.
These different things that we could have like complained about, maybe did at times, it's like you look at these people and you see just a heart of gratitude. They live closer to the life that Jesus lived than I ever could. And they have so much gratitude and so much joy, and they still give like everything they have. I feel like we go to bless them, but they actually blessed us more.
Yeah.
So in the tribe, we did a lot of open air. We had some dances that we learned the first week. Which yeah, that was awesome. And then after we had like a couple of dances, we did a testimony. Most of the times we prayed and asked God, like, God, who do you want to do the different things? And since we have a whole bunch of different testimonies, he knew like, okay, who needed to talk that day as well.
Later in the afternoon, we got to go house to house and start inviting people. And there was one house that was pretty far, and it was this little like older lady, and she right off the bat was just so sweet, and you could tell just so interested. Me and her kind of locked eyes, and she kind of reached out, and so she started speaking to me and told us how she had walked all that way because she wanted to be touched from God, that she had gotten a really bad accident years ago. Her whole body has just been in so much pain, and right when she was talking, we had a few of the girls come up. Jesus did touch her body that day. Her arms, like her pain left. That touched us because it was so genuine, and just we felt so much faith in her.
Doing those house to houses really helped like make it more personal, because we were able to like talk to them and sometimes pray with them before they came. So it made them like us to be able to connect with the people more.
That our testimonies are so different. It's just, yeah, shows like how much we are all needed and how powerful a testimony can be.
Yeah.
I know like there's been days where we were tired, but just asking God for God, give us more strength, give us more endurance, give us joy, help us to choose joy. And I think where we've also had to lean on each other.
We actually had the word family spoken over us a lot before outreach, and we were like, duh, everyone gets that word. But we were looking back towards the end, and we were like, wow, we're really like have become a family, and we all have like our different roles to play, and sometimes they shift.
Everyone has different strengths.
Yeah, and like it's important to work as a team, because like you can grow so much just by like watching like other people who are very good at like certain areas.
We all got stuff to learn from each other.
Yeah.
It was just so cool, like being able to build each other up and then also see like God come in and give us strength in the moment that we needed it. We've like prioritized praying over each other a lot, and it was really good being able to just have each other and hold each other accountable for like going to God for things. When you saw somebody was weak, there would be somebody else that would come and help pick you up.
It only takes one person that feels good on the team to lift everyone else up. And there were many times where like a lot of us didn't feel well, and like whether it be like physically sick or just like we just weren't feeling it that day, and one person encouraged us and like lifted us up. Going as like a team and as a family, like living as a family, I would have never got to like experience the same things that like we experienced.
One of the biggest joys me and Unji have of actually like doing a DTS or staffing one is really helping people become who they're made to be by knowing God. I want to bring in one of our students. Her name is Anna Watson. Could you give her a round of applause? The reason I want her to come and share a story from our outreach in the Philippines is because I think Anna's on that journey of knowing more about God, and as she's knowing more about God, she's actually realizing who she's made to be, and it's such a joy to see that. So I want Anna to share with us a little bit.
Yeah. One of the really like big themes, sorry, I'm still like sick, it's fine. Themes that God's been showing me throughout all of lecture phase and outreach is like, Jesus didn't just die for forgiveness, he died for our freedom. And that was something I definitely did not have coming into lecture phase. I came in with a lot of bondage, a lot of fear, a lot of anger. And as I was kind of learning more about God, like I learned we could hear his voice, and I was like, what? Why has no one ever told me that? Like I learned all sorts of crazy stuff. I heard people talking in weird tongues, and I was like, what the fridge is going on? But it ended up being really good. And then I heard about this thing called Freedom Week, and I was like, it was like infamous. Everyone was like, yeah, you just stand on chairs and you yell and then you cry. And I was like, why? So we got to Freedom Week, and I was like, this is gonna be rough. Like, I don't really know what we're doing, but it's gonna be hard. And the day was like based off of fear and getting freedom from fear. And I was like, oh, that's good. I'm not a very like fearful person. I do like weird stuff all the time with no embarrassment. But then it got to the part of fear of our past. And I realized that I was super afraid of people figuring out stuff I'd done in the past, who I really was. And I'd even like had this testimony in my head. I was like, I'm gonna have to share my testimony, but this is what I'm gonna share, because if they find out my real testimony, like they're gonna hate me. They're gonna be like, oh, she's not a real Christian, like all this stuff. So I was like on the chair, and we were going through like the 4 R's of like, repent, receive, rebuke, replace, and just like giving it all to the Lord and admitting all of this stuff. And as I started doing that, I started like laughing uncontrollably and just feeling the joy of the Lord. And just, yeah, and Rebecca, my track leader, I don't know if she's here, she's awesome, you should meet her. But she was like, yeah, I just saw this picture of Jesus, like you had built up this huge glass case of lies around yourself, and Jesus just threw a rock and it shattered. And that's exactly what it felt like. And after that, I was able to share my testimony, my full testimony for the first time. And I just felt so much lighter, and I got all this freedom in all these other areas. And then on outreach, I was actually the first person to have to share my testimony, which was like, okay. And we actually partnered with the second church we partnered with. We went to like a youth group type thing, and they, like 2 seconds before, were like, Anna, you're gonna teach them how to share the 5-point gospel. And I was like, okay. So I got up and explained how to share the 5-point gospel and our testimonies, and then we got to meet one-on-one with the youth. And I was with this girl whose name was either like Mirsa or Amaria, and those are two very different things, but it's one of those. And she was like just telling me all this stuff, and she was like, yeah, I really, really want to share my faith, but I don't know how, and I'm scared, and I've never done it before. And I was like, okay, that's okay, let's just start with our testimonies, because that's a little easier. It's your personal story, you know? So I shared my testimony with her, and she just like started crying. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, like, that's good, but that's weird. And then she started sharing her testimony, and it was really sad, and she just kept sharing and saying all this stuff. And I was like, that was awesome. Like, have you done that before? And she was like, I've never told anybody that in my entire life. And she was like, I just have so much shame and fear of people finding out about my past like that. And I was like, no way, me too, like, but I got freedom and I can show you. So I told her, and like we went through the 4 R's just like I had, and she totally just encountered God, and we were just like sobbing in a corner, and everyone else was done, and we were supposed to be done, but we were just like sobbing and encountering God, and she got all this freedom. And then right after that, she was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm gonna go share the gospel, and I'm gonna tell my testimony. So we actually got to take her and do house-to-house evangelism. And the first house we went to, Jelena and I shared the gospel, and she kind of translated and was getting the feel. And then she was like, okay, I want to do the next one. So we went up to this house, and she just starts going off, just spitting all these truths over this person, and shares the gospel, and they end up accepting Christ. And then we went to another house, and she did the same thing and shared her full testimony, and they ended up accepting Christ. And we went to 8 people that day, and she shared her gospel and the testimony, and they all accepted Christ, including like this random cashier at Alphamart, which is like kind of like a 7-Eleven there. And she was super scared because she was like, no, they're working, but I felt like God had highlighted it to me, and she ended up getting saved. So it was crazy. And it was just really cool to see how like God, for one, like gives us freedom. Like there's so much freedom in following Christ, but also like we can help others realize that freedom. And it only takes like a minute for them to get that freedom and then go and share it with others. And then the next day we like showed up to the church, and she was like, I shared the gospel with so many people last night. Like I got all these people I'm discipling now. And then they came up to me, and she was like, she's awesome. She told me how to share the gospel, and now I'm sharing the gospel. So it was like all this awesome stuff just to see the multiplication effect. So yeah, DTS is awesome. You should do it.
Yeah, our DTS, we really enjoy getting to know them and sharing some of their stories and some of the testimonies with you guys as well. We just want to give maybe a final exhortation or thought to our students and just invite you guys into having this moment with us. One, I love you guys so much, but the second thing I really do care about is, hey, DTS is just a launching pad for what God's called you to do. I think it's really a beginning to taste and see what it's really like. And my biggest piece of advice for everyone in this room, is just dive deep into the heart of Jesus. Knowing him is the most important thing, and knowing him kind of changes everything. So I'm really excited for you guys and what you guys are going to do next and where God's going to lead you, but knowing him is the most important thing. Second to that, knowing him helps you become who you're actually made to be. Doing other things or thinking about other things is not as important as knowing him, and knowing him, you actually become ultimately who you really wanted to be all along. So I'm excited for you guys as you guys begin that journey. With that, I want to invite some of our staff and our leaders for our DTS to come up, because it's actually now time to celebrate. We're actually going to graduate our students, so it's going to be an amazing time. So can we have some of our DTS staff, you guys want to join us on stage? And then can we have some of our maybe training leaders come up as well? We just want to graduate our students and really celebrate with them. So excited to graduate our 2023 DTS. Would Ellis Bledsoe please come? Lydia Colvin. Nathaniel Decker. Jelena Drew. Ashley Jenkins. Derek Jenkins. Zachariah Joseph. Jessica Lawrence. Anna Watson. Cornelia Wittusen. I proudly present to you guys the graduating DTS January 2023. Take a bow. Thank you guys so much for coming to our DTS graduation. If you guys want to know more about some of their story or some of the testimonies that took place, please go up and talk to our students. They would love to share with you what God did in the Philippines and in their own hearts. And thank you guys so much for coming.